This Gators Breakdown on the SEC Breakdown Network. And this time it is the Gators as they defeat Mizzou at homecoming for the Gators. It was a 40-14 victory for the Gators, and much different from the last time Missouri visited the Swamp 2 years ago in that debacle. But the Gators get a little bit of ugly on offense. Couldn't get a groove going there, but that defense, I tell you, showed up ready to play and pretty much controlled Missouri and Drew Lock from the get-go. So I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. We do this SEC Breakdown podcast show just on YouTube right now. You have some difficulties with iTunes, and some of you are wondering out there. We'll hope to get that back up soon. But for now, you can just catch it on YouTube. Place it on Facebook a lot. Thanks for all the followers at Gator Talk Facebook group there. You guys help me out there, and good Gator camaraderie there, and thank you guys for checking it out for a good while now. So we keep that going there. It's a good little Facebook group, and I thank you guys a lot for helping me out with these views and stuff there. So yeah, Gators win 40-14, and was it beautiful at times on offense? Luke Del Rio come back from injury, basically missed almost a month there. Missed the Tennessee game, missed the Vanderbilt game, missed the LSU game wasn't played, and when he probably would have started. But he struggled. He was definitely on the deep throws. He left a lot of throws short. Some of that can be featured too. He just maybe on that knee couldn't get some arm strength back. He couldn't really plant and throw the ball, but also he just waited too late to throw some of these balls. So these routes were kind of. He missed the open guy when they would come open, and would just wait too late to throw it, and the DBs would already catch up. You could attribute some of that to rust, from him missing games. But decision making there, and some of those was throwing into double coverage, and very big problem there. He definitely forced way too many throws. So. You got to go back and look at that. I'm sure there's, and you know what, he wasn't happy with the way he played. He mentioned it after the game. So we'll see, how he can bounce back. The Gators get a bye week, and I think that's really important for Luke Del Rio to go in, look at some film, and he can has a lot to learn from going in after this game against Mizzou. But there was some good things. The first drive of the game, 10 plays, 62 yards, ended up missing a field goal there. But he hit a deep pass to Tyree Cleveland. Tyree Cleveland's getting involved now, so that's good to see from this offense. But you really have to, wonder, and it started from drive one. These false starts from this offensive line. McElwain mentioned in his press conference, there's some cadence issues there, maybe because Luke Del Rio had been gone for so long, coming back in there. The cadence had been messed up a little bit. You can definitely attribute some of that to Missouri's pass rush that the Gators were worried about, trying to get a head start on blocking that defensive line. But, some of them there were just no excuse, and just jumping offside after offside, or false start after false start. I think there were 8 total in the game. And, with this Gator offense being kind of just average right now, you can't have that, those penalties that keep just adding up and taking you out of field position. And, they get to the red zone many times in the red zone, false start after false start, or a good play and then a false start would follow up with that. It's with some, that kind of maybe hurt Luke Del Rio's, rhythm a little bit as well. Like I said, Florida would do something good, and then a false start. So it was hard to get in rhythm with the way Luke Del Rio was playing, and with the way, the offensive line was false start after false start. But Luke Del Rio's final stats, 18 of 38. Like I said, I mentioned those, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. You can't have that in this Jim McElwain offense. There's receivers open. Believe me, this offense is designed for that. They're really just throwing into coverage. Probably should have had even more interceptions. But I don't want to blame too much on the coaches, because the first half play calling to me was excellent. But Luke Del Rio wasn't really getting the job done. So I think you could have looked at maybe trying to run the ball more. I don't like the fact that Del Rio had 25 pass attempts in the first half, but the plays were there. He just wasn't on. If Luke Del Rio was on, that game is over with at halftime. It's not even a game. Florida at least has 3 touchdowns at halftime if Luke Del Rio's on his game a little bit. But that wasn't happening. So, I think Florida took too long to get into the run game. I think after giving it over 400 yards to LSU, did Missouri. I think Florida maybe should have come out and maybe established a run a little bit more early. I don't mind. I even thought they might let Luke Del Rio throw it around a good bit. But once that went up, once that wasn't going right, I think you probably should have switched more to a run style offense. But you can tell when Jim McElwain knows he's playing a team that his defense can control, he likes to tinker on offense. He likes to try some things out on offense. I think he wanted to try and get Luke Del Rio more in a groove. He's been going for some time now. Throw him in, see what he can do, see how comfortable he is, see how comfortable he is on that knee. And I talked to some people who were at the game, and you could tell Luke Del Rio either he would, go after each almost passing play, he would go down and mess with his knee, maybe mess with the knee brace. I don't know if he had some discomfort there, or maybe when he would throw the knee brace, he would just have to reshuffle it, readjust it. Don't know how much pain he was in. That probably won't be released there, but. It could have been a much better performance from Luke Del Rio, and if it would have been, this game wouldn't even been any closer than the 40-14 score than it already was. So I think the offense would have definitely kept going and kept going. But it was a good start on that 10-play, 62-yard drive. Eddie Pinheiro misses that field goal, but you can't have that. But the running game definitely stepped up there. I think this running game, we keep mentioning Jordan Scarlett needs more carries, and he does. Just to get some rhythm going. It's this offense is still kind of clunky, but I think if you let Jordan Scarlett get the majority of carries, he can help with that. There was the Florida only ran the ball on 9 times on consecutive plays. One of those was they ran the ball 3 times in a row, and another one they ran the ball 4 times in a row. I'd like to see more consecutive run plays called, just to let these running backs get in the groove. If you're going to do this running back committee, I don't think you need to be having 38 pass attempts as well. Let these running backs take over a game. But like I mentioned, Jim McElwain's working on some things. When he has a defense that's going to control the opposing offense, he knows he can work on some things in game. So there's a lot to work on in this passing game, and you can tell Jim McElwain wants to do it. But 523 total yards is great for this Gator offense, but it's just they weren't putting the points on the board. I mentioned the false starts, Luke Del Rio's 3 interceptions. You just can't have those, mistakes there. Missouri, a couple weeks ago also, gave up a bunch of yards to LSU, over 600 yards. So this Missouri's defense is not quite as good as I think we thought. Florida, should very well put up the total yards they did, but you got to start turning those yards into points. And the red zone struggles continue. So it's a big problem for this Gator offense. But you settle for field goals and you don't score. You turn the ball over in the red zone. Florida have 4 altogether with Luke Del Rio's 3 interceptions and Jordan Scarlett's fumble at the goal line. Florida controlled the time of possession, 36, almost 37 minutes, but 11 penalties for 65 yards. If Florida can just play a little smarter with Luke Del Rio and get the running back some more carries and cut down on these penalties, maybe this bye week is a very good thing for that. Maybe during this bye week, this Florida offense can just stop with these penalties. And you know what? If you start if Florida can clean up just the little things, they'll be a pretty good team. This offense can turn it around. You see it there. Like I said, you mentioned 523 yards. It's there. But you just got to quit the little small things, the false starts, the turnovers, throwing in the double coverage. Luke Del Rio knows better. He knows to throw to the open guy in this offense. He forces too many throws. The last couple times after that Kentucky game, he was, got a little aggressive, and that was a good thing to see. But right now, he's becoming a little too aggressive, getting too comfortable in this offense. And you can see it, against North Texas when he had some throws he got away with there. And now last night, this last game against Missouri, he also got away with some throws. 3 picks, probably could have had more. But the Florida needs to lean on this running game a little bit more, I think. Because LaMichael Pirine led the team, 11 carries, 106 yards. He averaged almost 10 yards a carry. Had a 59-yard run, so that was nice to see. Jordan Scarlett, like I said, should be the number 1 back, 12 carries for 101 yards. So there's 2 running backs for over 100 yards there. He averaged 8.4 yards a carry and 1 touchdown. that 33-yard run. And Mark Thompson had a really good game besides that fumble early in the game. I don't know how he fumbled that. Got hit in the leg, and his the ball's way up in the air, and he somehow fumbles that. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry. So, and I also like Brandon Powell getting some carries on those little outside toss plays there. See if he can break one with his speed. So. Jordan Cronkrite got banged up a little bit, so he didn't really have much. Three carries for 6 yards, but I think you really got to look at this run game starting to take over. I think the play calling can help that. Like I said, too many passes in the first half. Let this running game start taking over. And when Florida's got this run game going, we saw it against Kentucky a little bit. Let the play action take over. Let Luke Del Rio use some play action. That will help him more than anything right now, especially coming off the injury. Let him bring him along. Bring this running help. Let the running game help bring him along. I think that's what we can see. Going forward. Lots to work on with this bye week coming up. There, but you really have to be impressed with these receivers as well. I mentioned the big catch from Tyree Cleveland. He had 3 receptions for 79 yards. So the first 5 games of the year, he didn't play a lot. He had 3 catches for 45 yards. But against Mizzou, 3 receptions, 79 yards, and a touchdown. His first touchdown in his career. Hopefully, many more to come. DeAndre Goolsby had another good game. 3 receptions for 40 yards. There, Antonio Callaway only 3 catches and for 28 yards. I mean, I keep bringing it up, keep bringing it up. My one big complaint about this offense is they don't get the playmakers the ball enough. And Antonio Callaway has to have more than 3 catches, in a game. Using him on some more screens. He's due to bust one of those for you right now in this offense. And I really like integrating the running backs more. LaMichael P. Ryan, those sort of swing passes that he's got going. Use him some more in the screen game as well. I really think, like I said, this offense is almost there. It's just the little things holding them back. Quarterback play is the biggest thing holding them back right now. Still not quite sure Luke Del Rio is the answer. But if he can be average, that's what we've been saying for years about these quarterbacks. If they can be average, just Florida offense will start taking off a little bit. They have to be great with that defense. Just be average. And if the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, this Gator offense can go somewhere. But there's plenty. I think you're starting to see some options there if the quarterback play is good with Tyree Cleveland, DeAndre Goolsby, Antonio Callaway, Brandon Powell. That's a good little set of 4 receivers there that can do something and start integrating these running backs in there. I really think this Florida offense, if the quarterback play can start getting better, can really just take off and start doing some things that we expect to see. Maybe this. I'll keep going back. The bye week's coming up. There's some things to work on, some things to clean up. That's what bye weeks are for. But the offensive line, you want to go, they didn't have a terrible game. Run blocking was much better. There were a lot more holes there. But like I mentioned before, Missouri struggled a couple weeks ago against Missouri. Missouri struggled against LSU a couple weeks ago, giving up over 400 yards of rushing there. So, I think, Florida saw that, and the offensive line could control that. But it was good to see, the offensive line, finally, as my good friend and colleague Bill King say, bust some grapes there. So, they did. There were some holes there. It wasn't the running backs creating a lot of it. There were some big holes there. That was nice to see. But the pass blocking, Luke Del Rio still got beat up quite a bit. I think only 1 sack was given up, but still Luke Del Rio was taking entirely way too many hits. David Sharp, and for at left tackle, for as good as he is at times, he's just as bad at times as well. There's just no consistency on that left side of the line with Sharp and Ivy right now. And then Jawan Taylor, you can see him motor-grate somebody. He's a moto grader. He just goes out and just grates people over. But then one hit on Del Rio yesterday, he just completely whiffed on the block. But that's going to happen. He's a true freshman. That's just going to, it's going to happen. He's going to get better. Eventually, I think he'll get moved to left tackle. But Florida's got a good one there. He's can be a little bit more consistent. He's not necessarily a freshman anymore this late in the year. You got enough experience to where you can start building on some stuff. He's a good one. There, but we'll just see a little bit more consistency from it. But you could tell Luke Del Rio helps this offensive line. Like I mentioned, he does still get hit a good bit, but he's helping this offensive line and getting rid of the ball and not taking and not taking sacks and forcing the ball under those pressures. Del Rio's problem was he actually had time to throw. on a lot of those throws, he was pressured. He was forcing into coverage. It was weird that when he actually got pressured, he made better decisions there than the ones he was actually where he actually had time to throw. So lots to work on in this offense still. I know it's frustrating because we can see the potential this offense has, to take off. But it's what bye weeks are for. They'll have plenty to work on. Maybe Jordan Scarlett gets some more carries. I think that's what a lot of Gator fans want to see. His offensive line can gel some more, get a little healthy there. But Luke Del Rio will have some time to rest. He got maybe this was his rust game, as it will be nice to see with Georgia coming up. And the rest of the schedule. Florida is now got a lot in front of them, and Luke Del Rio needs to start playing better for that to happen. But what can we say? More about this defense? It's ridiculous, led by this secondary with Jalen Tabor and Quincy Wilson. Both had pick sixes yesterday. And if you listen to my show last week with Joey V, our Gators Breakdown Midweek podcast, I said there would be plenty of times for this Gator defense to get some interceptions and maybe take some to the house. As much as Missouri likes to throw the ball there, to come in leading the conference in passing, Drew Lock just wasn't having it. He was not there. 4 of 18 for 39 yards. Folks, this passing game was on point coming into this year, but both times they've won against good secondaries in LSU and Florida has really been in check. So as a team, Marvin Sanders came in later. The Missouri backup, he was 3 or 4 for 59 yards, so a total of seven completions, 22 attempts for 98 yards and 2 interceptions. So, and the big thing here, Florida's defense allowed just 2 completions on passes that traveled beyond the line of scrimmage. Ridiculous stats, and I think Pro Football Focus, their college football section for that stat there. So, this Gator secondary, I really thought it was advantageous to go against an offense like this in Missouri who likes to pass it around them. Can't really run the ball too much. Missouri did get a good bit of rushing yards, 265 on 46 carries, but a lot of those were in garbage time late in the game when Florida had a lot of backups on the field. I don't necessarily think it's too much to worry about, but we did see Tennessee gash, some, and Vanderbilt with Ralph Webb really had some running lanes, and Missouri a little bit. I think you can see a little bit there that the Florida defense still has to work on. And for this defense, a good thing for this bye week, because I think we've seen too many gaping holes. I wouldn't be too worried about what Missouri did because, like I mentioned, it was late in the game. But I think you have to, still make sure these defensive linemen are playing their assignments. And, there's some huge holes there right now. A lot of those also came after Jared Davis went down. So that's the big story on defense, I think, besides the 2 pick sixes Jalen Tabor and Quincy Wilson had, is Jared Davis went down with an injury. Alex Anzalone kind of rolled up on him a little bit as he was trying to make a tackle. Michael Wayne mentioned in the presser, looks like nothing broken, nothing fractured. They're still waiting on an MRI. So hopefully, it's a sprain that he can come back for pretty quick, because Florida's going to need him coming up with Arkansas, Georgia, LSU, FSU still to play. And if nothing's broken or fractured, you still think he could probably come back sometime. But I really hope he can come back for this Georgia game. It's as much as Georgia is struggling right now, they're going to try and come in and run the ball with Nick Chubb and Isaiah McKenzie and Sony Michel there. So Jared Davis needs to come back and needs to get there. There's not much behind him. But on defense there, Alex Anzalone will have to lead that linebacker core there. But David Reese came in and had some good playing time. Colin Johnson also came in, but it was good to see mentioning those guys who have to come in at linebacker all over the defense. You saw some young guys struggled late, but when they're on the field with some of the starting defense, you can see. Chauncey Gardner was all over the place. Antonius Clayton had a lot of pressures. I think he had 2 quarterback hurries. Yeah, so he gets into the backfield a good bit. Jabari Zuniga's on the field with 2 quarterback hurries there. CeCe Jefferson, just a sophomore. Yes, he's got a lot of playing time, but he's still a young player. So you're seeing Some young guys, once they get in with the experienced guys, they're really, taking off. But when they're all on the field together, you can see what Missouri was able to do late in that game. But from the get-go, Florida was in the backfield. I think there was 6 straight 3-and-outs to start the game. I have to go back and look. I remember tweeting that out at one time. I don't think Missouri had a first down in the first half there. So the Gator defense did its job. Going back, if it wasn't, if they did have a first down in the first half, it was very late there. So it was, a great performance by the Gator, by the Gator defense, and it was what you look for, and when you're playing a passing team like this with this secondary, you really, want this. Defense to come out and take point, and they did. So it was, they didn't have a first down in the first half. Missouri offense. So Gator defense stepped up and did its job. So this is Gators Breakdown on the SEC Breakdown Network. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC and SEC Breakdown at SEC Breakdown. Talking Gators, Missouri. You can also, you'll catch this on YouTube, and hopefully to get back the iTunes back up soon on there. So going into the special teams a little bit. Yes, Eddie missed his first field goal, but connected on 2 more after that, and this Gator special teams. It was at the end of the game also tacked another. Touchdown on the board with Antonio Callaway getting the onside kick and returning that to the house there. So nice to see Antonio Callaway get a little special teams touchdown. Still kind of struggling in the punt return game right now, but it'll be all good. We'll be fine there, I think. And I really like Jim McElwain's aggressive approach of keep kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone kickoffs. Don't give these opposing teams any chance of really taking kickoffs back for touchdowns. But with this win, the Gators take first place in the East after Tennessee loses and gets smashed by Alabama. But don't let that read too much into that. Florida's doesn't really still have a good win. They're taking care of business against the teams they're supposed to. One ranked team they played, of course, is Tennessee. They lost that game. Much more. With the schedule coming up, many more tough games to come. Georgia's not going to be easy. As bad as they're playing, it doesn't matter. It's the cocktail party in Jacksonville. You can look for some, trickeration. Georgia's got a bye week too, so I think you can look for maybe some trickeration, some different looks for them as they got 2 weeks to prepare for Florida. And then, of course, Arkansas on the road. Not going to be an easy game. Arkansas is coming off a win, beating Ole Miss there at home. South Carolina will roll in with Will Muschamp, so they'll be, Will Muschamp will probably, have his team ready to play a little bit. Florida should take care of business there, but then also, the makeup date for LSU November 19th. So in the SEC, Florida still has a rivalry game against Georgia. It'll be a tough game there. At Arkansas, I think will be the toughest test to go on the road and win there, and then go to Baton Rouge November 19th to take on LSU. So, Florida first place in the East right now. But the toughest part of the schedule is still to come. So Gators can't relax right now. Got a bye week, plenty to work on offense, defense. I think you get the running lanes shortened up. Don't get gashed in the run game as much as you have. But the secondary, if people want to test them, go right ahead. I don't think you'll have much success. But with the teams coming up, they don't necessarily spread the ball out and going to pass the ball a lot like Missouri, or Florida was able to take advantage. Georgia's going to try and run the ball first. Arkansas is going to try and run the ball first. LSU is going to try and run the ball first. So, hopefully Jared Davis comes back from injury. Gators have him, ready to go against the toughest part of the schedule because they're going to need him. And these young guys keep stepping up to provide some quality depth for this Gator defense. So this has been Gators Breakdown. Like I said, on the SEC Breakdown Network. I'm your host, David Waters. I'm on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC and SEC Breakdown at SEC Breakdown on Twitter. Gators win 40-14 on homecoming against Missouri, and we'll be back later this week. Gators Breakdown will be with myself and Joey V for the midweek. Joey V will look at the Missouri, and we'll get some thoughts from him about this Missouri win, And it's the bye week, so we'll talk about some superlatives for Florida: best offensive player, best defensive player. Probably maybe our favorite moment from this season so far. So we'll look at the season in review, mid-season in review for the Gators, as they got the toughest part of the schedule still to come. So this is David Waters for Gators Breakdown, and we will see you later.